The next is a temporary government office in Allen Creek, directly on 214, about half a mile from 119 for $450 per month.
Mr. Matthews, you want to bring us up to speed?
Yes, going with the request from the sheriff, the assessor, and in the last commission meeting, we had some concerned citizens from Allen Creek. We're requesting more presence in the Allen Creek area. I looked into some buildings, some property that was accessible, but we wouldn't have to put a lot of money into it. And in the population center, and found a place right beside Holmes Restaurant. We can get that for $450 a month. And I think that this is a good idea to do temporarily until we can find a permanent residence.
I know I hadn't had a chance to discuss it or at all with Mr. McCann, but other than I think I did mention that, you know, I always look at these things as seeing where we can best serve how we can best serve the area, and seeing that Mr. Matthews from over in that area, he probably could make that determination better than I could. My concerns were that we look at this as a temporary thing till we can get our possibly get our farmers market area developed and things, and that particular thing there may be looking at these government offices there and things of that nature, and because we really want to do what's best for the area, and I think in involving the EDA and things like that, I think that in the long run we're better off as far as serving everyone. But I think as far as going ahead and getting something established now, that this is a workable alternative, and would you know, think we ought to go ahead and do this and look at what modifications needs to be done, and as far as where the locations and how what it's costing and things like that. So,
Commissioner May, if I may, just to let you know also, I've talked with the sheriff, and while it's primarily a deputy auxiliary post, I also talked with Mr. Curry, had lunch over there the other day, and it's my idea to, in that same suite, to provide someone from the assessor's office one day a week to provide those same services in Allen Creek as we do in Harts on Wednesday. So folks from that area would be able to access, you know, pay their personal property taxes, get licensed on their vehicles and such. So, and that's going to take some time, but you know, we had talked about providing those services in Allen Creek in the past, and I know this is temporary until the farmers market issue is resolved and plans are in place, but I want you to know that the building will be utilized by the assessor's office maybe every Thursday is kind of the plan now. So
well, I think that's was what I thought we'd go in, you know, when we talked, when Mr. Matthews and I talked, the sheriff and I talked, we want to put as much services as we can. I think the problem, you know, we had services over at Allen Creek at one time, but it was like one day a month, wasn't it, or something of that nature. And I think the one day a week thing works a lot better. I mean, I think people can utilize it better, and I think it'll probably grow a lot quicker than what it did before. So, but you know, I think all of us, we ought to look at doing that and seeing, you know, and we can track as far as what the usage is and things like that. And that way we'll know their costs versus what services we're providing over there.
Does the 450 include utilities? That
Yes.
inclusive thing?
Yes, that's
And the
it.
sheriff, you're there all the time. You'll have, not all the time, but you'll be there present off and on throughout the week, not just one day.
Right.
That's what
Yeah, it'll be a post for, you know, I got deputies stationed over now. That's, when they come on duty, that's where they go. And it'll be a place where they can go in, and if they need me to make a public service, you know, they can. You know, without using a cell phone. If they need to go in there and I just want to stress their legs. I know what it's like to have to sit in a cruiser all night. I've been there. And it's a place that we can go in and do our paperwork and hit the 4 lane, not down to Barbersville. If it's after hours, where we're going to come in at the courthouse, if we're making a arrest, what I'm saying, we can just go in there and do the paperwork, shoot right down the 4 lanes to the jail and back and come back. Yeah, I think it'd be good, and I will put it to use if I get it. I'll take all I can get.
And I guess, is there, I don't know if it'd be use of the county clerk or not, but it seems like maybe it'd be useful to have voter registration and that kind of thing.
Yeah, we kind of did it in Harps and.
Yeah, we'll set it up just like we have it down there, and that way, that's
I'd
right.
like to ask a question on that office you're gonna have down at Allen Creek. Is that gonna have a separate number so that if I have a problem like at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, I can call direct to that number? Or do I have to go through another number to get a hold of that office down there?
That will probably be a separate number, but
Okay.
you probably still go through 911 and they can contact us there, you know, the deputy's not going, they're not gonna be a secretary in there, you know, in the office at all times.
Right.
It's just gonna be a place like of a night where the deputies can go in and,
Okay.
stretch their legs or maybe take some pot coffee or whatever, I mean. And like again, I said, I know what it's like except no cruiser all night, so.
So it'll probably be through 911.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think-
911 has a non-emergency number, and if it's not an emergency and you need to talk to a deputy, they could dispatch.
Right.
Sheriff, I'm sure,
I
could give you
think
that
one of the
number.
advantages that has is response time too, you know, if you've got people that's, you know, that, and, you know, it's a deterrent also to know if the people that commit crimes know that there's, you know, deputies sitting right down the road, you know, I think it makes a big difference in what they,
I
what they
think
say.
it will too.
I think 911, to call 911 helps the safety of the officer as well, and they know where they're at.
Right.
So you can,
good.
but they could reach them easier, but
Good
you'll,
point.
so the 911 knows where they're at.
Okay.
But I think it was something we need to go ahead and get started on, even if we wind up at a different site, I still think we need to offer that to the people over there and have it available to them. Is there a motion?
I move.
I'll say. Is that not yes?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next is increment pay.
We decided, we went with that $100 more than
Yes.
that one, yeah, so that was what it was the year before last, is that correct?
No,
I mean, it was, we increased it from year before last, but we're going with the same plan as year before last.
yes, yes.
So basically what we did, was it a 4-6-8 type thing or something?
468 is what it was last
So
year.
we went to 5-7-9.
Correct.
And that was determined by the number of years they'd been in service also. So, and I thought a one-time payment, as we've done before, except it'd be a little bit more than what it was before.
Do we know what the total that is?
$25,200.
Took the number out of the mouth.
And this is a one-time pay they get. Is there a motion?
I move.
Second.
Is there any discussion? If not, I'll ask for a vote. Those in favor, yes?
Excuse me.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Next on the agenda is the land use master plan approval. However, what was her name? Rachel was,
Lester.
she's had some medical issues and she can't attend today, so they've asked if we can just put this on next agenda.
Yeah,
I
that-
move that we table.
Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, yes?
Yes.
All right. We're gonna put it on the next agenda.
Okay. The next is a letter that the commission received from, well, it's anonymous, it's not from anyone, so regarding naming the road into the Hearts Community Center, Brad Lane, in honor of the late Brad Brumfield. The letter is a little, I'm assuming they're meaning like the,
Yeah, I talked to these individuals.
okay,
At the open house we had at the community center, I talked with a couple of different individuals, of course, and Brad Brumfield was one of my better friends that I had, and he was an upcoming star, I think, in the community and things like that when he took his life. But he had a lot of really great ideas for the people of that area and things of that nature. The only concern I would have is if the community center would not want it, I wouldn't want to do it, but I think it'd be a good thing if you could. So I would ask if the commission to go ahead and approve this, and I'll talk with the community center if they have a problems with it, we'll revisit it and things like that. Is there a motion? I'll move.
Second.
Then all yes?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next is Trish Watson regarding the Medicare non-emergent transport issues. I think we have that right.
We need to tell all of them to get their supplements that cover that, instead of not cover it.
These are not things that you need to read at the moment, obviously. I'm gonna give you a briefing. The DHHR has began a state plan amendment to put the entire NEMT, non-emergency medical transportation, under a broker. That broker is from out of the state. They last session had Senate Bill 188, which referred to the same thing, and that didn't happen. We have met with them multiple times as part of the coalition, Lincoln EMS, multiple agencies, and requested that they exclude EMS from that. What will happen if this moves forward with us in there is that all of the non-emergency transports that we do, doctor's visits, dialysis patients, chemo patients, whatever be the situation, return homes, those patients would then have to go through this broker system. And if we were allowed to participate in that brokerage, they get to determine who participates. They can bring other agencies in to do it. They can award it all to one agency, whatever their choice is. If we were allowed to participate in it, then it would be at less of a rate. So I'm not sure how less of a rate than already not making it is a good thing for us, but they keep trying to tell us it's a good thing, and we obviously disagree strongly. And looking at multiple other states, and you have literature, and that's just Google research on most of that literature. The agency that they're considering very strongly has up to 15,000 complaints in some states, 2,000 complaints in 20 days in another state, so not only is it bad for the EMS agency in itself, it's bad for the citizens, it's bad for the patients. Multiple no-shows. They had one gentleman who complained about them not showing up. They didn't show up for 7 dialysis transports, according to the article. This is just what I read. That patient is now deceased, and that's our concern as well. Not just a matter of we're not going to be able to break even, but also what's it going to do to our population? What's it going to do to our citizens throughout the whole state? They are a for-profit entity, and obviously on a for-profit basis, places like Harts Creek, for instance, it's a low call volume. That station is hard to maintain. It doesn't break even as far as cost. So they're not going to be putting trucks in rural areas. And they're not going to provide, in our opinion, much service to those rural areas. So we're really worried about that as well. And Harts Creek, just because it's close to us, but you have Clay County, Wayne County, multiple, our whole state. And this is a statewide thing. What we're asking that we met last week, actually this week, I'm kind of lost, it's been so much of it. Monday, we spent the day at the Capitol. We, as the coalition and multiple agencies that participated, sent another letter to the governor requesting that he remove EMS from that RFP. And it doesn't only impact EMS, it impacts the Transit Authority, and it impacts the senior services. 75% of that budget line for non-emergency medical transportation goes to friends and family. 25% of the entire state budget line goes to EMS, friends and family, senior services, cab services are all included in that other 25%. So EMS is just a very small portion of it anyway. And they have even stated that that's not where their concerns of fraud and abuse is, it's with the friends and family side. So then why include us? We're a totally separate patient base. So I'm here to request that you contact the governor on our behalf as well and ask that for the entire state that they omit EMS from the broker system.
Will do. Any questions?
Any questions?
Thought maybe, of course, I served on it, or maybe if we could draft a letter and get all of us to sign it and send it to the governor, plus anything else we can do.
I really appreciate that. It's not just Lincoln County, it's a statewide issue. So.
Yeah, it's a real complicated issue too. Their argument would be that not to use emergency vehicles. I mean, as far as have those available for emergencies, and not out on medical transports and things like that.
Can I speak to that a little bit? That was initially a part of their concern. And Dr. Stallings, for instance, he and I discussed this extensively. That's not the issue. like, we have 3 911 24-hour emergency trucks. That's all we had for years. And when we began adding trucks to do the NEMT side of the non-emergency transports, we've been able to add trucks. So we have now 2, 3, 4 day trucks that we never had before. So those day trucks that are here for the non-emergency side pick up the carryover from the emergency side. So you're pulling trucks that are now an asset and an addition to the company.
Well, and basically, what I was saying is your opponents use that, not.
Oh,
not
yeah,
that-
yes,
not that-
definitely they
Not
do.
that Doc Stallings or I believe that.
No, he doesn't.
Uh,
Right.
But, you know, I think that, you know, I understand the problem we're getting into. You know, it's just like, I don't know if you noticed, there's a push by Logan Emergency Services to make sure that their Medicare care people get supplements that cover non-emergency care for ambulance services and things like that, so they can actually be, and this is a whole bunch of different things you guys have to deal with as far as reimbursement and things like that. So, if Mr. McCann will help draft that letter, we'll go ahead and I'll ask for a motion to approve that letter and have us all sign it to send it to go.
I'd like to make that.
This is your second.
I'll second that motion.
There's tons of information in there. If you have any questions, my card's in there,
Well,
so.
this broker system would definitely, it's going to provide less services to our residents. I mean, this is big, I mean, I see this as, it's kind of like a war on the border.
Yeah.
It's really what it is, I mean, you know,
It does allow, I think, them to pick who they take.
that's exactly right.
You know,
It does, and that's-
And that's a problem when
Yes.
you're dealing with.
And more fraud problem.
I think so, I think so. I mean, I think, you know, you're under scrutiny, being a non-for-profit, things like that, much more than the others, I think would be. And as you said, you know, I historically know some of the companies that we're talking about, and having dealt, you know, going all the way back to when we didn't have ambulances here other than Mr. Stickler's hearse we rode around in. You know, there's been a lot of changes, But it's much better to be in a real ambulance than trying to take someone to the hospital in a hearse. It has a much more positive affect, I think, when they're there. But anyway,
Just take them right out.
I think it's something that, you know, and anything that we can do from this end that can help you guys on the emergency services, you know, we're always willing to do that.
I agree.
We appreciate the job all y'all do. I mean,
Thank you.
it's, you know, it's not near as glamorous as law enforcement and things like that, but it's just so much, just as necessary. Thank you.
Well, we contacted multiple states, as you'll see in one of my reports in there, and of the 28 states that I talked to, or my assistant and I talked to, only 5 of them actually include EMS in their state. And most of them were having reconsiderations, and it wasn't, and they have an incentive to not show up, to not take the call, to disallow your call.
That's right.
Because they just get the money up front,
That's right.
and if they don't roll that truck, then they
They're
haven't
saving
spent
money.
any money.
That's right.
Exactly, so it's a profit.
That's right.
So, thank you for your time, gentlemen.
Next on the agenda is a Big Ugly Community Center and purchasing of lights. Is there anyone here for that?
Thank you, Ms. Watts.
Thank you. Nice to meet
I had
you.
all of it.
Well, you all approved
I had this put on the agenda because it was approved in a prior year.
June sixth was the day of the order, that it was approved to order the lights. I've been in contact, have several notes here with Mr. Pruitt, Wayne Pruitt, that I needed something so I could purchase the lights. I needed to know what lights to get or where to get the mail, you know, sent to, he never could give me the information, and so now they've sent in finally on October 29th, some lights that they would like to request, or, you know, would like purchase.
I was there on election day.
He says they need lights, yeah. it
Is
is dark,
it in the multi-purpose
People,
room?
yeah, people were voting by 2 end-table lamps and some Christmas lights.
How much are we talking about?
I mean,
The
it's
first
there.
order was for $549.90, and I'm not sure where he came up with that figure, but now he's sent something in for $567.15.
It's about that. We do use it for voting.
Yeah, that's our precinct. They've done
I just
every
wanted
election.
to ask the commission if they go ahead and reauthorize that, because it's a different fiscal year, and do you think that?
Yeah, the only question I had is it is a separate, it is a community center, but still step-to-step nonprofit, but we use it occasionally and use it after-school program.
as I said, that was the other question, someone wanted
The
to.
legality of it.
Well, they'll, yeah, put in an
That's the only
amendment.
question I have,
Well,
but I guess.
Well, we can approve and ask Mr. Gabor about it. If he
Okay.
thinks it's based, pending his approval, is there a motion to go ahead and approve?
Who owns the building?
The nonprofit Stepford staff. The county gave it to them to run as a community center,
But we use it for voting.
voting, and the school system used it for after-school programs.
Is those lights for improving the whole building or just the gym?
I thought it was multi-purpose back last time I brought it up.
That
Why don't we just get a clarification from him and table it and put it on the next,
Well, maybe whoever you could clarify. I seem to, am I getting much,
The guy I talked to yesterday was Lacey working for Union.
oh, okay.
And he didn't know for sure, because I asked that question.
Well, okay, why don't we just, I entertain a motion to table to get an opinion from the prosecutor.
I move that we table this for the next meeting.
Second.
And
By then
we
we'll
can
have-
ask Mr. Gabor if he thinks it's okay to do so.
Yes.
Let's clarify where they're gonna use it out.
Okay, next on the agenda is East Lincoln County Crime Watch. They have sent in a letter regarding their winter gathering, on Monday, December 16th, and they're requesting, the commission to sponsor this event. And it says they don't have the monetary amount the commission contributed, last year, however, the bills were paid directly by the commission. Cheryl had a little bit of a hard time looking up, what was for the winter gathering, I guess. You know, we paid the bills, but she couldn't find exactly what it was, so I don't know the figure of what we spent last year, I guess is one.
Is anyone here from over there? Yep. What, do you know anything about it?
I don't know what the total amount was, but what we wanted to do this year was just have a gathering of all the crime watch units, and the county commission was invited, and the sheriff. And we just wanted to show appreciation for all the people that are in the crime watches that donate their time and effort to make Lincoln County a little safer. And we haven't decided yet, we have our next meeting next Monday night, our crime watch meeting, and we haven't decided yet what we're gonna have, to eat. We was kind of waiting to see how much the commission was gonna.
We could have, you know,
We're a
they-
stalemate on that. Well, you want order.
Tell them what you like.
We'll have lobster next time.
Lawrence Wood is their vice president. He said last year he thought it was somewhere in the neighborhood of $500.
She would have been able to look, had I known like the store names or where you had purchased. I'm sure we have record, I just didn't know where they had purchased this, but, you know, that way.
Does the commission have any problem with approving it for $500?
Well,
Is there a motion?
I'm good.
Yes. No, yes.
Thank you.
And the next is Brett